Hello, and welcome to everyone joining us this afternoon for the 2021 Geffen Playhouse Veterans Writing and Performance Workshop presentations. I would like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous people of all the lands that we are on currently today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we all call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving the relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous people and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all Indigenous people that call this land home. My name is Brian Allman, he, him, his, and I am the manager of theater education at the Geffen Playhouse, and it is my honor to welcome you all here today. This is the fifth year that the Geffen Education Department has assembled a strong ensemble of multi-talented military veterans to craft and share their individual stories. This is the first time this program has been 100% virtual, with participants joining us this year from all across the country. These talented storytellers have spent the last 9 weeks brainstorming, writing, revising, and in some cases, recording their very own cultural identity monologues. If after watching the show, any veterans out there would be interested in joining us next summer for our Veterans Writing and Performance Workshop series, please go to www.geffenplayhouse.org for more information. Now, it is my sincere pleasure to introduce the two Geffen Playhouse teaching artists that cultivated and directed this year's Veterans Writing and Performance Workshop, Carissa Pinckney and Elisa Naomi.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Carissa Pinckney. I'm a teaching artist, an actress, a writer, a director. Most importantly for you all, know that I'm a teaching artist. And we have Elisa Noemi.
Hi, yes, Elisa Noemi, and I do a lot of those things as well, and I'm honored to be a collaborator of Carissa's in performance and storytelling, and a lot of the work that we do independently and collaboratively is really rooted in identity and cultural identity, and it's been an honor to be a part of this workshop.
And our whole point with this workshop, our whole job was to help facilitate these cultural identity monologues and performances. So we were actually able to do that by, over the course of 8 weeks, by implementing some writing exercises, some acting exercises, some gesture work. Our job is for the vets to talk about whatever they wanted to, and do that by giving them a real place to do that on the internet.
And it was amazing to be able to reach through this digital forum and connect to each other, and I'm so grateful to everybody who showed up today to listen to these stories, and we can all pretend together that we're in a theater, which is where we would be if it wasn't for this strange experience that we've all been experiencing. And yeah, with that said, over these 8 weeks, witnessing this group of people reach deep inside themselves to find their stories, to explore their cultural identity, not only as vets, but as unique human beings. And we're so proud to present these, or to host these monologues that each of these artists has crafted.
Yeah, and with that said, we'll go ahead and kick us off into our first set of monologues. So one of the things that we talked about a lot during our identity monologue creation was objects. Objects are a really important part of our life. We assign meaning to them. They end up supporting us sometimes. And through object work, we were able to have folks describe and unfold some of the most important things in their life. So yeah.
So first up is Lou. Welcome to the stage.
My monologue is titled Time. It can be as small as a button or as big as a billboard. It can be dull, but it can also be flashy. Some people consider its designs a work of art. Others wear it like jewelry. Mine is about a square inch, weighs about 10 ounces, and is pretty low key. But when it lights up, it can really draw attention. I got my first one at about 10 years old. It had the tiniest calculator, an alarm, even a stopwatch. My late grandfather, who was a watchmaker, gifted it to me. I can still remember how much my face hurt from smiling so much. Having a watch on my wrist has become part of who I am. I feel naked without it, lost, wondering, what's next? I attribute the importance of timekeeping to my 29-year military career, where timing can be crucial for mission success. I can still remember Drill Sergeant Negron scolding us recruits. Let me tell you something. If you're on time, you are late. So drop and give me 20. With this very thick Puerto Rican accent from the Bronx. My watch with its date and time capability also serves to remind me of some bad times, but also to reminisce of the good ones. Like when guys on my block would grab a Goya can and scrape it on both sides, creating a funnel. Another would grab a plumber's wrench and people would yell out, "Oh yeah, abre la bomba!" And it would drench us with hundreds of gallons of cold water from the fire hydrant, cooling us off on a blazing hot July day in the midst of the 1977 blackout in New York City. Good times. My watch is like a time machine. I wish it could really take me back in time. My watch is my right-hand man on my left wrist. My watch aids me in my stress of always wanting to know what time it is. My watch also gives me anxiety, wondering how much time do I have left? Thank you. And I'll hand it over to Mark.
My two older brothers and I stand in my parents' garage looking at what we have. It's my parents' garage sale. My brothers, both more aggressive and pushy than me, pushed me to take some old tools that belonged to my grandfather, Richard Hansen, or Dick as he was known. And I took them because I knew a secret. I was his favorite. My mother had told me that. Now, I grew up in a small town and I was pushed towards education. I wasn't going to be a blue-collar worker. I shouldn't need tools. I knew how to do some things. I can use a screwdriver, a saw, a wrench, paintbrush, and a mop. You know, I look at these old tools and one of them is a old wood plane that a carpenter would use to take a piece of straight wood and make it into something that he needed, make it fit. I can see that it's welded upon one side and he had it repaired instead of buying a new one. The handles are dyed dark with the oil and the sweat of his skin. I think back on some of the tools, this tool and some others, and I think about how carpenters made cities out of houses that were built without electrical tools, without computers, and without lasers. These carpenters and builders were guided or pushed by something called elbow grease. And they were guided by imperfect squares and mechanical bubbles. My grandfather was a man made of elbow grease, and he was guided by imperfect squares and mechanical bubbles. I guess that's my cultural identity. My grandfather stood all of about 5'8" inches tall, and it was all muscle. His own father had been adopted. All he knew of his ancestry was from the north of Norway, but his skin was dark brown, his hair was almost black, and his eyes were brown, but almost black. A Western painter once hired my grandfather to be the model of a Native American. Now, my grandfather worked as a maintenance man during the day, but at night he flipped houses. And he was the original house flipper before it was cool. He would go to his project house after work and work until midnight. And my grandmother would bring him dinner in a tin pail, like a piece of ham or a piece of chicken and a glass of milk. And he'd work till midnight. I was his favorite because we both loved reading, fishing, and playing cards. And we also loved geography. With his help, I had learned all of the state capitals before first grade. I think back upon my grandfather, and I know that I need to work harder. I need to work harder to be on the level with people, to be square, and to measure up, and really work harder to be more like him. I will be followed by Elaine. Thank you.
When I was a child, I asked questions about my family and got vague answers. Lies, actually. I was told my Aunt Mary Amanda had tuberculosis. It was schizophrenia. That my grandfather died in a car accident. It was suicide. That my one-legged Uncle Richard was moody. It was clinical depression. They sent him all the way from Alabama to Connecticut for treatment. The family stories kept changing. I think they thought they were protecting us, but from what? I always wanted to dig deeper and become some sort of genealogical detective. I found a box of correspondence when we were cleaning out my grandmother's house in Tuscaloosa. Letters from my aunt. One had a memorable line. "I'm sorry, I'm not the daughter you wanted me to be." I said to my parents, "This letter is so interesting." That box was quickly disappeared. I discovered something. We may shade the truth in the stories we tell about our ancestors. Letters rarely lie. Maybe that is why I treasure a leather-bound autograph book with gleaming gold letters in a flowery flaunt, proclaiming it's a picturesque album, a Victorian keepsake that belonged to my great-grandmother, Amanda Melvina, the grandmother of Mary Amanda. It's filled with poetry, kind wishes, stories written to and by my great-grandmother. I plucked this off my father's bookshelf after he died. Some names I recognize, but for the most part, the identities are lost to the ages. At the very back of the book is a dried, flowering plant, preserved between the pages since June 11th, 1866. The inscription reads, "From the baptism with his whiskers." So Amanda was a poet. I look at this and reflect after I gaze at the only photograph I have of her. A glum-faced matron in a stiff-backed chair sits next to her 3 sons and my severe-looking great-grandfather, who inspired the quote. At least I think he did. Her photo tells me very little, but her words make me wonder, secrets are no secrets. Do we ever really know anyone? Update. My last visit with my family was a little different. We actually sat around talking one night about personal things. No one was pretending everything was rosy or that we couldn't discuss sensitive subjects. It's progress. Family secrets depend on people feeling ashamed about situations that often can't be helped. I guess we have finally decided not to be ashamed. Thank you. And next up, we have Charlene.
I love vintage clothing, petticoats, psychedelic prints, polyester. Is fashion my identity? Personality. I gotta be unique, original. Although I used to dress like everyone else. If it's a cold November 11th, I might put on a heavy cotton blend from the 90s. Black, brown, and olive drab green. I rub my fingers on the thick sewn-in name tag. Who is Johnson? Let's give it up for the artist formerly known as Private Johnson. Who does she think she is anyways? So like, what are you? A girl from junior high asked. She wanted to know if I was like her. I'm Mexican. No, Chicana. But why do you have a white name? And who's your dad? And how come you can't speak Spanish? In hindsight, I could excuse the intrusive questions of a 13-year-old girl. But feeling like you're getting interrogated by coworkers? Johnson. So who's your dad? Is he black or white? He must be white, huh? What are you, Mexican? Then why don't you know Spanish? I hate this name. I don't know who Mr. Johnson is. Why do you need to know? In the military, we go by our last names. My mother gave me an Anglo name because she thought it would be better for me. And she didn't teach me Spanish because she thought it would give me un accento. And that would have been so bad, huh? To change your name is like changing your identity, right? But female soldiers did it all the time. When they got married to some guy they barely knew. I hated that. One day, a male soldier came to work with a different name. What? Men don't change their names. Why'd he do it? I named myself after my mom. My dad left, and I don't want his name on my chest. Within a week, I did the same thing. I was Sergeant Medina for only a few months, which was pretty cool. But now you could just call me Charlene. Mujer Maravilla, Superstar, Chica Fresa, Wonder Woman, She-Ra.
Great job. Great job. Hello.
Hello, audience. Woo! Just checking in with you again and to let you know that in introducing the next few monologues coming up, that our loved ones are part of what shapes our identity of who we are and how we see the world. The people we love and those that love us, the beings that loved us, become part of us, and we carry them with us wherever we go.
And with all of that in mind, we're gonna view Gwen's video.
This necklace isn't very impressive anymore. It's scratched and worn. It'll turn my neck black, but it brings me comfort. It holds a small vial of my service dog Simba's ashes. I'm a Marine, so for 18 years, that's what I held on to. For every struggle, every setback, every introduction. I'm a Marine. I can do this. But then America's vet dogs matched me with Simba and flew me to New York to train with him. What an adventure. 2 layovers, 4 TSA searches, because they're absolutely convinced that my leg brace is an explosive device. Then, because I get in so late, the trainers tell me I'll have to wait until the next morning to meet Simba. They lied. 55 pounds of golden fluff came running through the door and, straight into my heart. I was still a Marine, but now I had a team, a mission, and inspiration once again. We traveled throughout the country. We even went to Hawaii, and we faced our fears together. When my husband Rick died, we held together in harmony. When I went on my first date with Mac, Simba was with me. When Mac and I got married, Simba carried the rings. He was so nervous. For 7 years, we were inseparable. Simba got me out into the world, and he guided me on my first steps without a leg brace. And then I had to guide him into retirement when he couldn't keep up with the strength that he had given me. This necklace is a reminder of everything that we shared. My DNA is embedded here now too, which is perfect. Simba was always the happiest when he was by my side. And now we get to hear from Pierre. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. And this piece is titled Claudia Classic. Hello, my dear. There are so many things I want to say that I never got the chance to, or more like never had the courage to. Emotions I've kept buried deep that has haunted me ever since you went on to glory. But that's not why I brought you here. I'm here to thank you. Thank you for being the first mama I've ever known, because I called you mama when my mother was still a baby, and you took it upon yourself to raise the both of us and 2 more generations after. I remember when you told me how your dad shot that man for calling you out your name. Lucky for him, the one-horse town you grew up in those backwoods of Tennessee, was like a Negro Mayberry, allowing him to check himself in and out of jail so that he could come home and have dinner with you and Lily Bell, who y'all knew as Auntie. There are times when out of nowhere, the spicy floral smell of your Estee Lauder perfume that you wore would tingle my nostrils, letting me know that you're in my presence, triggering memories of how the smell of mustard permeated from your clothes and filled the entire apartment when you came home from working the night shift at the Potchman's factory. I always imagined you and Auntie pulling Laverne and Shirley type antics that sent the entire assembly floor of your fellow Southern migrants into hysterics and laughter. And even to this day, every night before I lay down, I can still hear your voice trumpet in my mind. Bed to bed, you sleepyhead. Somebody loves you. The last time I saw you, you couldn't speak, but your eyes told me everything I needed to hear. How much you loved me, how proud you were to see me in uniform, even though you thought I was in the Army, no matter how many times I told you I was in the Air Force. So thank you for being a classic like the Coca-Cola you love so dear. A classic, a true classic forever, my Claudia Classic. And now I pass it on to Karina.
Thank you, Pierre. An overwhelm of emotion takes over me. Most times I feel paralyzed. I can't even speak. I want to reach out to you for help, but you're not here. I can feel you around me, but I can't see you. It's ironic, the only place we're together is in my dreams. I struggled with the meaning of life. What's our purpose? Spirituality. Questioning, where do we go when we leave this life? Will I ever see you again? I only get a sense of peace and calmness at the cemetery. How can a place of death be so beautiful? I love how when I talk to you, you send me a sign you're listening. I get white butterflies, hummingbirds, and a sense of peace of mind. And I know the world is a good place again. Until we get to be together again, I'll continue to take those dreams, the cemetery visits, the white butterflies, and the hummingbirds. And now I'm gonna pass it back to Carissa and Alicia.
Hi. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm going to set up our final block of monologues. Part of our cultural identity are our memories, our childhood, our last day at work, what happened yesterday, what happened in the previous moment. They all build into who we are, and we take those memories with us everywhere we go. So this next set is about just that.
Yes, and beginning with a video from Russell.
Damaged people can be a big problem, especially when they'll do anything to cover it up. When I was 10, I had a dream. I dreamt that I was lying in a dark mist and that I was not alone. Lying with me were other men. We were all in military uniforms. In the center appeared a hooded and robed man, and I asked the person lying next to me, "Who is that?" He said, "God." Now, I know I'm God because I left my body. Leaving your body gives you a perspective on life. I had just completed my master's in computer engineering from Princeton University, was working for AT&T, and was having difficulty with fellow employees who were envious of me. One reason they were envious was that I just built my new house on the 5 acres my mother willed me, and I was benching 300 and squatting 450 pounds, and I was writing software to test integrated circuits. I was on top of the world. I was also going through a top secret clearance check for the Air Force National Guard and was waiting to go to officer candidate school. Then, out of nowhere, I was assaulted and battered by 2 old white guys at work. I felt sorry for them. Besides, I liked one of them. He looked like Popeye. The others there called me the widow's son, which is an allegory for the master mason, which is so crazy. When I tried to file a police report on the assaults, the police refused and said it was my fault. Then LSD was slipped into my food at work. A week later, I left work and drove to above a bluff to put my seat back. I took several breaths and tried to relax. I felt something release from my body. All of a sudden, I felt me outside of my body, millimeters above my body. Those millimeters turned into inches and then into feet, and the better I felt. Then, just as I felt the kind of bliss I could never begin to explain to you, I heard my name called and I crashed back into my body. Weeks later, in retaliation and to defame me, AT&T chose to force me on mental disability, just like they did to a black guy just before me. While on this disability, I graduated from officer candidate school, became a lieutenant, and then was fired from AT&T. A warning, if you dare to research this by Googling the words Paul Robeson LSD, that's Paul Robeson LSD, and you'll begin to understand how drugs are used to suppress the left.
Next up, we've got John.
I found this special picture that makes me smile or sad or sit up proudly in my chair. Just depends on the day. I'm not even in the picture. I didn't take the picture, but I took the picture from the box of my mom's belongings after she passed away. It's a picture of her being cheerful and at peace. And it looks like she wanted to say something, but she can't because it's just a picture and it doesn't move. But it moves me and everyone who looks at it. There's no frame on it. She's in her 30s. I was around 13. And it was the year she got me my first job. And just like with school, she joined me on my first day of work. Because I didn't have any work experience, didn't have a worker's permit, but I had the desire to work hard enough to buy my own clothes or cassette tapes or McDonald's or whatever a 13-year-old thinks he could buy with $20. She was with me all day, right next to me, telling family stories, jokes, and telling me how to do my job correctly. It was farm work in the South, and it wasn't her regular job, but she made it her job to make sure that my first job was meaningful for me. And it was, and still is. That's one of the many memories that the picture reminds me of. I kept the picture unframed for many years until I could find a way to keep it with me every day without shoving it into my wallet or into my pocket or getting mixed in with other pictures on my cell phone. I just wanted to keep it with me and in my memory. So I decided to just frame it forever and put it right here. Next up is Alex.
One of my favorite places is being on top of the cliff, overlooking the sea, and witness a beautiful sunset. I've seen sunset many times before, and I just can't get enough of its beauty. I was just grateful to witness such wonder of nature and the flow of creation. Life, and where I fit in this world. As the sun goes down in perspective, I would think of some of the moments of my life that brought me there. Being in the present, shaping the future, guided by the past. When I was in the Philippines, where I grew up, I would go to the beach, watch the sunset, and wonder what's beyond the horizon. Just me and me alone. My safe space. See, during that time, growing up on that island wasn't always easy for a kid like me. Being half Black, half Filipino doesn't come around often, so I was always on a spotlight, but not in a good way. One afternoon, while I was hanging out on the beach, hating the place, hating the people that treated me wrong, hating life, hating me in what I am, as soon as the sun went down, I heard a sound. Woo! I looked over my shoulder. Nothing. Woo! Again. So I stood up, tracked where the sound was coming from. And there it was. A small brown owl on a tree branch. It was my first time seeing an owl in person. So as I stood there, looking and observing, I noticed its beauty, the stillness, and as if the owl was observing me. I left it alone. I didn't want to disturb whatever that bird got going on. That quick moment gave me a few lessons. No matter how different you are from someone or something, embrace who and what you are. Be brave, be still, be aware, preserve your peace, let your beauty shine through, and let your voice be heard. That's why sunsets are very special to me. It holds a memory of a friend. And no matter how tough and challenging life could be, just remember to have hope. Look beyond the horizon and just be. Woo!
Hoo-hoo! Hoo-hoo! Woo!
Woo! So those were the monologues that our wonderful vets were able to come up with, so heartfelt about themselves, their lives, their experiences. I'm gonna invite everyone in this Zoom room to change your viewing perspective to gallery mode up in that right corner so you can see as many faces as possible on whatever screen you have. And I'm gonna ask everyone here to give the vets a round of applause.
Big round of applause, please, for our storytellers. Yes, yes, yes.
Hey.
Fantastic work. What we asked you to do is difficult. Public speaking is hard enough, let alone asking you to speak about things that are relevant to you. So my hat's off to you. Be proud of yourself. I know that we're proud of you.
Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Hi, April. Hi, Melissa. Hi, everybody.
We've got
Thank
a lot of positivity in the chat as well.
Yes, I see. Round of applause is happening. Bravo. Woo, so good. Fantastic.
Amazing job. Fantastic, everyone. Great work.
On behalf of the Geffen Education Department, I would like to thank all the veterans for their hard work and their efforts. I want to thank Mel, our house manager, and thank you to Jake for all the behind the scenes Zoom work. Thank you very much, Isaac in production, to Patrick, Brian, and Georgia in marketing. Also, thank you to Jessica, Dawn, and Gil for your continued assistance. Finally, I want to send a special thank you to our 2 Geffen Playhouse teaching artists and Veterans Writing and Performance Workshop directors, Carissa Pickney and Elisa Naomi. Please, once again, give them your thank you and their gratitude, your round of applause.
Thank you.